All right, I'm back with my panel now, Mr. Dan Rather and Mr. David Axelrod. I want to, Dan, can you weigh on this other breaking news that we have tonight? The United States dropping this non-nuclear bomb on ISIS's tunnel complex in Afghanistan. Candidate Trump promised that he would, bomb the you-know-what out of ISIS, he said. Is this the president delivering, you think?
Well, I do. First of all, the commander in Afghanistan, General Nicholson, a great commander, he should have the leeway to use whatever weapons at his disposal.
So you think it was him who made the decision, right?
I do. Okay. I think that kind of decision probably had to go somewhere up the ladder. I'm puzzled by the president not acknowledging either he signed off on it or he didn't sign off on it. Mm-hmm. But saving American lives, even one American life, and doing something to defeat the enemy at that place, no problem with that whatsoever. The difficulty with Afghanistan is, what is the strategy? When do we know we get out? We've been there, 15, 16 years. Dropping bombs is not a strategy. It can be used as part of a strategy, but what's the goal now in Afghanistan? And keep in mind, by the way, the commander in Afghanistan has been asking for more ground troops. He's not yet been granted those ground troops. Yeah. But bombs are not a strategy, and particularly with the kind of guerrilla warfare that we've long faced in Afghanistan, we know that in a broad general way, they're not very effective in winning the war. Now, they can be effective in a one-off situation such as I believe happened in Afghanistan with this so-called mother of all bombs. Let's put an asterisk at the bottom of the page, by the way. That name is the mother of all conventional bombs. The mother of all bombs are the atomic weapons, hydrogen bombs. Yeah. That's the mother of all bombs.
Yeah, and very good point. David, before you weigh in, I want to play what the president said about the bombing today and then get your response.
We have the greatest military in the world, and they've done a job as usual. So we have given them total authorization, and that's what they're doing. And frankly, that's why they've been so successful lately. If you look at what's happened over the last 8 weeks and compare that to what's happened over the last 8 years, you'll see there's a tremendous difference. Tremendous difference.
David, as the former president's former senior advisor, what's your reaction to those comments?
Well, I'm not going to respond to that element of it. Everything was terrible for the last 8 years, and everything's been great for the last 10 weeks, according to Donald Trump. So there's no point in reacting to that. And I agree with Dan on the use of the weapon. I assume that it was done for good military purposes. I don't ascribe any particular political motives to the use of this weapon. But it is interesting that the president, in that scrum with reporters, did seem not to have. He didn't want to answer that question, as you guys pointed out. Did he order it? Did he, what was his involvement in this? And he said, well, I trust my generals. And what's interesting about that is we all remember it wasn't that many months ago when he was telling everyone that he knew better than the generals. And it's one more instance in which he has changed his posture on his relationship with them, on what his role would be as president versus them in terms of setting strategy. And my guess is that this was a decision that was taken by the military for good military reasons.
Let's talk about the strategy and the people around him, really, because the Wall Street Journal asked President Trump if there will be any changes to his inner circle in the coming months. And the president responded as saying, I don't intend to. He added that he may change his mind from day to day. I don't know. And that's a quote from him. President Trump has been distancing himself from his chief strategist, Steve Bannon, recently. Dan, do you think Bannon's waning influence is driving the changes that we're seeing now? You?
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were asking David. I beg your pardon. Well, this is very strange. The answer is, I don't know. Who can know? But there's no precedent for what's happened here. Never in the modern presidency, and I don't think going all the way back to George Washington time, has there ever been a president who talked to a tabloid newspaper and dished, which is what he did, said uncomplimentary things about one of, if not his main advisor. There's no precedent for that.
I like Steve, but he said, and that was the beginning of it.
But this is, now, in most White Houses, if that had been done, you would say to yourself, Bannon politically is what the mafia calls a walking corpse. He's dead.